In this episode, Appendix N, Shelfie Edition. Hey folks, Doomed Wizard here. So if you follow my community section, you know I've been moving, and that's why I haven't made a video lately. While I was restocking the shelves in my new tower, it occurred to me that it might be kind of fun to take a look at a couple books that I use quite a bit. Sort of a Appendix N, Shelfie Edition, if you will. So without further ado, and through the magic of editing. Alright, well I don't know why I'm doing this as a top-down video other than the fact that a lot of my stuff is still packed away. It's not like this is a extraordinary collection or anything, but these are a couple of books that I refer to constantly when I'm making adventures for any system, really. Like I said, again, they're not remarkable books. Most of them you can find on Amazon, and one of them in particular is kind of dubious, but I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to start out with this one, The Watchers Out of Time. A lot of people who are like diehard Lovecraft fans don't exactly like August Derleth's books or stories. Uh, I think he was better at writing a three-act play than Lovecraft was, but you know, that's probably going to get me a lot of hate. Um, Lovecraft's descriptions were better, but Derleth actually put dialogue in a story, which is another thing that I really like. But this isn't a criticism or a compare and contrast the two of the two writers. This is just me showing you guys one of my favorite go-to stories that I use for writing mysteries for, again, any game really, because they're all the same. Mysteries are pretty much universal. You can use them on anything. Um, the one I'm, the one I really like is The Shuttered Room. Story about a guy who inherits his grandfather's house, and it's decrepit and falling apart, and there's a mystery behind it. It lays out, if you read it a couple of times, it's not a very long story. If you read it a couple of times, you'll kind of see a format for how to do things. Like if your characters are going into a town to either like investigate, even everything from a castle to a haunted house to a mine shaft, whatever. Um, it kind of shows you how you can lay out dialogue and whatnot and encounters with NPCs to kind of build the story up. And it's got a pretty good finale too, so you get kind of a nice way to do like the final boss fight, if you will. Um, I won't spoil it. I'm pretty sure most people who watch my videos have probably read it or heard about it. Um, Spoilers though, there's a giant frog in it, and I am a sucker for a giant frog story. I don't know why. I guess I owe that one Howard the Duck. And if you know, you know. But yeah, The Shuttered Room by August Derleth. Supposedly based on notes by Lovecraft, but nah, yeah, you know, I wasn't able to find anything that neither denied nor confirmed it 100%. The other stories are good in this too. I just really like The Shuttered Room. There's a really good audiobook version of it on YouTube. If I think about it, I'll put a link to that video in the comments. Moving on to my next book. The first complete edition of Solomon Kane stories by Robert E. Howard and others. This was a Bane book that came out in. This is prep right here. This is part of a series that came out in 1995, 96. It's actually what got me into Howard because of course, I loved Conan. I read the comics, saw the movies, um, dabbled in his short stories. But around the mid '90s was when I started reading everything by Howard I could get my hands on. This is book 3 of a 6-book series that I'll go ahead and put them up here just for fun. It's a 6-book series that Bain put out in the mid '90s of just tons and tons of non-Conan Howard stories. Cormac McArt with an all-new story by David Drake. I can't say enough about Drake's homages to Howard's fantasy stuff. Of course, Cole. Nothing more needs to be said. Rand McMorn. There's a good story in here, if I remember right, that I really liked. Worms of the Earth is great if you get a chance to. And a lot of these you can find online. You can find people who read them if you want audiobooks. It's these, like I said, this is by no means a great collection, but it's a great collection. uh, Eons of the Night, more non-Conan, ancient world fantasy stuff. Uh, Twilight of the Grey Gods. That's a great story. It's basically a quote unquote historical version of how Howard imagined the Norse gods fading into the distance. And these two, we'll go ahead and finish these up. A lot of the when Howard was writing Lovecraft stuff is in these 2 books. Again, there's no shortage of Howard books to be found in hey, look at that. Calvin and Hobbes. This is a stream of consciousness video. Anyway, yeah, these were great books. But in particular, we'll get back to Solomon Kane. I'm getting off track. I read this back in the '90s, but I wanted to read some more Solomon Kane because, quite honestly, and I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this. I wish he would have written more Solomon Kane, but then if he had written more Solomon Kane, we wouldn't have Conan, and we wouldn't be playing the game we love. So I'm willing to take that L. But I wanted to reread him recently, so I went online and I found this. Now I got this off of Amazon, but here's the thing: there's nobody's taking credit for this. Somebody's making money off of it, but nobody's taking credit for it because there's no names or anything in this book. So somebody back in 2019 decided to make a fast buck, slap some kind of cover they found off of Google, and away you go. However, this is a great collection of nothing but Howard's Solomon Kane stories. And the one I want to focus on in particular is this one, The Wings of the Night. The Wings of the Night would make a great hex crawl because, as you all know, if you're Solomon Kane fans, he basically wanders Europe and Africa, has all kinds of crazy adventures. In this one, in Wings of the Night, he it's not the best one, but I love this story for using it as an example for a good hex crawl as he wanders through the velds and grasslands of Africa, or what 1920s people thought Africa was. But Solomon Kane fights a army of harpies, and you all know that Howard was great at his combat descriptions. It's such a good story. But yeah, I'm a huge Solomon Kane fan. I've based characters that I've played off of Solomon Kane any chance I get. I have one character in particular. He's a paladin, and uh, anytime one of his fellow party members is wounded, the only way he will lay hands on them is if they accept his god. So consequently, he saves most of his healing spells for himself because nobody wants to do it. Because One person did it foolishly, thinking I wasn't going to play it up, but I ended up every time we get ready to do something, I'd make him pray with me. So that was fun. Um, but yeah, big Solomon Kane fan. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I found this at Ollie's. Still got the sticker on it, but this is these doorstop Marvel omnibuses. Is that gonna come into focus? No. Anyway, these big doorstop omnibuses. The cover wasn't on it. I can't even open this thing. It's so big it'll hit my camera, but it's got all the adaptations of the stories for when Marvel had the rights to them. I like these because I like the black and white stuff because as an artist, I like to see what other artists do before it gets colorized. But then you get into like the that flat color reprint stuff, which I have a love hate relationship because one of the things that again I'm getting off track. One of the things that I loved about what made me a Marvel zombie over a DC kid when I was younger was the colors on the cover. There was something more dynamic about the colors of the old Marvel covers versus the powdery, you know, pastel colors that DC was putting out. But yeah, these are colorized and they're pretty good. I mean, anyway, I'm getting off track. Uh, Oop, I can't blame the cat on that one. The last book I'm going to touch on is this book called Cursed Objects by whoever J.W. Ocker is. My oldest got this for me for Christmas a couple of years ago because they know I'm into the weird stuff. It's a nice little book to leave layout on your coffee table or your end table, which is where I leave the books I'm currently reading. The reason why I like this book so much is this thing at this size. This thing is chock full of cursed objects. Um, and you need it for a game, especially when you're playing like uh, your Call of Cthulhu, or in my case, my Under a Gibbous Moon game that I'm working on. Uh, this is a nice little resource. Like if you need a game in a hurry, just turn to whatever page, read, and you've got a game. The one in particular that I want to focus on though is this one right here. From Mitchell Hedges' Crystal Skull. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll just tell you. Um, it's a life-size crystal skull, supposedly pulled from the ruins of a Mayan temple. It's said to that it can heal, uh, and it's the inspiration for the first bad Indiana Jones movie. I think that's a little harsh. So, I mean, I I wasn't a big fan of Temple of Doom when it first came out either. So, I think Crystal Skull gets a lot of crap that it doesn't deserve. Um, but the funny part about the Mitchell Hedges skull is, um, not that long ago, I was at a Goblin concert in Chicago with my buddy Nick, and he was asking me, he goes, "Do you know about the Mitchell Hedges skull?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a bit of a fan because I think there was that, what was it, Scholastic had like that weird magazine back in the '70s, and that's where I first heard about it. And I think it was on Ripley's Believe It or Not when Jack Palance was doing the show, and maybe even In Search of. Anyway, and there's tons of videos about it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a fan. Well, he starts talking about how there's two of them. Now, I don't buy into what they actually, what they say they are, but the fact that they're these kind of cool pop culture artifacts makes it interesting to me. Well, he goes, one of them is in your hometown. I'm like, wait, what now? He's like, yeah, he met the guy that owns it, and we're gonna set up. He went and saw. We're gonna go set up. We're gonna set up a meeting one day to go check it out, but schedules never quite um, match up. So the next weekend when he was at game night, I'm like, yeah, I'm a bit of a fan, and I just laid the book down in front of him. I like using skulls in my games for all kinds of things. Like I made this one. This is just like my little mock up here. Uh, this little guy here, I like putting props out on my tables, and the characters in Under a Gibbous Moon have found this skull that's got all these weird etchings on them, and the characters are fully capable of translating the glyphs that are all over it, but they're too scared to. So one day, one of them will get desperate or bored or both, and try to translate the what the runes mean. And of course, I'm not gonna tell you what's gonna happen because they watch these videos, so I don't want to give it away. But when it does happen, I'll let you know. All right. All right. Well, that basically wraps up. I'm only going to show you a couple of books because I don't want to make this video too long because then I won't be able to make more. If you guys want to see more, if you want to see more, let me know in the comments. Uh, and let me know and let everyone else know what are some of your favorite go-to books for. I made this an Appendix N video essentially. What are some of your favorite go-to books? Well, yeah, let us know in the comments. Hey, folks, if you like the channel and you haven't yet, why not do all the YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon. And while you're at it, why not head over to the Doomed Wizard Society and be the first wizard on your block to have an official society membership certificate, as well as my one-page RPG Operation Snake Eyes. I'll be adding more exclusive content each month like one-page dungeons, OSR hack superhero characters, as well as my Kids on Bike style RPG, Strangeville. And if you're looking for some gothic fun, check out the 5e compatible adventure I illustrated, Council of Bones. If 5e is not your thing, it can easily be converted to almost any OSR style system. Links are in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.